Hello, and it's great to have you back. I am Kowinjo, and in this Star Wars Outlaws guide, I would like to share 5 beginner tips with you that will help you navigate the game much more easily. As you can see, I'm already close to platinum. I only need 2 more collectibles, so it's just a formality now. As a content creator, I have it relatively easy. I have read every single comment from you very carefully. There are always the same problems in the game, and so that you don't have these problems, or also do not make the same mistakes I made, as they will definitely make your life in Star Wars Outlaws much harder. Here is this little guide with 5 things you should definitely keep in mind. That's what the video will be about, so let's get started. Alright folks, let's get started. Tip number 1 that I can give you: keep your reputation with the various cartels as high as possible. This is absolutely essential. I'll show it to you again here in the overview. There are a total of 4 cartels. You have different reputation levels here, which allows you to receive rewards. You see, I have already collected all the rewards, and I really had everything at an excellent level right up until the very end. Now, the reputation has partially decreased here again, which is no longer a problem for me because I am in the end game. But when you start, please don't make the mistake I also made, which is letting your reputation drop into the bad range. Why is that? You will then be unable to access many areas from the various cartels, or only with great difficulty. And you also have the problem that you can no longer increase your reputation with the various mission brokers. Of course, you can bypass all of this by visiting different vendors here, like the colleague I'm currently with. In Miragainer City, there are a lot of them in the game. And then you can submit various data disks here, which will also increase your reputation. These are small collectibles, but it is very cumbersome. In my opinion, you need to embark on a search in the open world. So very cumbersome. I can only advise you against that. As I said, I made that mistake. Now we are going to visit a job broker again. And you can see, for example, that the lower job is blocked because I unfortunately do not have an excellent reputation, which would give me a really strong reputation boost here. I can only accept the classic jobs. And if you have a bad reputation here, for example, with the Pike Syndicate, then you cannot accept any missions at all. This is, of course, also tied to a lot of trophies. So, it's very important that as soon as you are introduced to the various cartels here, you take on as many jobs from the contractors as possible and complete them, so that ideally you have an excellent reputation. Then, of course, you can always drop a bit, and that's not a problem at all. However, if it is bad, then it becomes very cumbersome. You have to collect data disks. There is no other way. So, this is a very big mistake that I made, and I would really like to spare you from it. That's why this is my big tip number 1. So now we come to tip number 2. This is a general tip, but it is primarily aimed at my trophy hunter community. Guys, I can only give you one great piece of advice. Enjoy this beautiful open world game. What do I mean by that exactly? There are no missable trophies. You can do everything afterwards. Focus on the main story. Explore as you wish according to your preferences and play style. Whatever you do, do it in the world, just enjoy it. In my opinion, it's a beautiful game. At first, I focused a bit too much on the collectibles in the different regions. I got stuck here and there and couldn't progress. That is really absolutely unnecessary. There are no missable trophies. At first, I also tried really hard to get as many trophies as possible right away. I was constantly blocked by various things. So you can definitely enjoy this incredibly beautiful game 100% in my opinion. No trophy is missable. You can do everything afterwards. At the very end of the main story, there will be a point of no return, which will also be indicated to you. You need to complete 3 main missions, and then you return to the open world in a classic way. Just like in almost all open world games, you can collect the collectibles and you can earn the trophies. It's also much easier. Your character is of course much stronger now. Stronger. I made the mistake of trying too hard, and that's why my big tip number 2 is to enjoy this game. There are no missable trophies. Play the way you want, completely at your discretion. This is absolutely essential. I promise you, you will have much more fun playing when you have this information. Tip number 3. builds a bit on tip number 2, which is about the collectibles in the various regions. As you can see here, I am already close to platinum, as you saw at the beginning. And everywhere in the top left corner, you can see treasures that I can salvage. So I definitely don't have all the collectibles here yet. I'm actually missing 13 pieces, 3 here, 4 there, and so on and so forth. And this is really just the first planet, Toshara. And that's simply because you definitely shouldn't force yourself to collect the collectibles here, as you will only unlock all abilities during the course of the main story. For example, you get a blaster that allows you to clear large rock formations out of the way. You will receive an upgrade for the speeder, allowing you to shoot over small slopes and across canyons. This is also very, very important. You cannot collect all the collectibles in the different regions right away, like in many other open world games. That is not possible. You must first follow the main story. That was also a big mistake on my part. I initially focused too much on collecting all possible collectibles, but I quickly gave up when I realized that there were many paths I simply couldn't take. We will definitely be missing a few things. It was just like that. So it connects a bit to tip number 2. Definitely enjoy the main story, enjoy the game. Don't worry too much about the collectibles. Of course, you can always pick up a few along the way, but it's different from many other Ubisoft games. You definitely don't need to collect all the collectibles to earn the platinum trophy here. It's of course nice to have everything in the end. The character becomes super strong, the ship, the speeder, the whole surrounding is then really, really beautiful. Therefore, I will also collect all the collectibles here again and dive a little deeper into the story. However, it is absolutely not necessary and very, very important. You cannot collect all the collectibles at the beginning. Please set those aside for now. Enjoy the main story first until you have all the upgrades, until that point of no return comes. From this point on, you can collect all the collectibles, but please don't get too fixated on it. I made that mistake as well, and that's why it's my big tip number 3. Tip number 4 in Star Wars Outlaws is, in my opinion, absolutely essential for much more enjoyment in the game. Engage with the gameplay settings. There are certain gameplay settings here, such as changing the lockpicking with the data stick, which you should definitely adjust. Then you can also set it here so that you have no collision damage. This is very, very important for 1 or 2 trophies. You will have much, much more fun playing. I wasn't aware of it at first. Then I felt like I cracked different locks here with the data stick about 100 times. At some point, it just becomes annoying, and you can switch it so that you really only have to press R 3 times and every lock will open. It's incredibly well done. However, it is not the case with every open world game that you can gain such significant advantages from the gameplay settings. So here is my tip number 4. Set your things here, especially make sure to turn off collision damage and, of course, enable simplified lockpicking. In my opinion, it is absolutely essential for much more enjoyment of the game that you definitely know this. I will also link a video about this in the info card and again below in the video description, where I will go into detail about the gameplay settings. I promise you, you will have much more fun playing. In my opinion, a top beginner tip is to switch everything up right away. I did it a bit too late, which made me somewhat frustrated at times, especially after just 2 or 3 hours in the game, because this really happens very, very often. So make sure to pay attention to the gameplay settings. Please adjust this to your liking. It is very, very important. You will find an incredible number of good simplifications in the game. Very, very important, and that's why my tip number 4. Last but not least, tip number 5 is, in my opinion, absolutely essential. I have to admit that I only realized this very late in the game. This tip is to engage with the various merchants in the game. Visit these traders as often as possible. There are incredibly many different traders in the game. Here I stand in front of one, and over there are the syndicate smugglers or traders. Here is a weapons dealer, which can also be found in every larger city. Here you can get new equipment items. And the essential thing about these traders is that they also sell very, very important materials in the game, for example, to upgrade your ship or the blaster or the speeder bike. Very, very essential. You see, this trader sells, for example, a ship computer, which you can find in the world, but only very, very rarely. Here, you should always have enough credits, which is also essential. And then you can buy these ships, these chip computers, for example. You can use them to upgrade your ship. This is very, very important. I didn't realize it because in most open world games, the vendors are completely insignificant. You end up with bad outfits and you can't really buy anything, maybe a few healing potions or something else. With the merchants in Star Wars Outlaws, it's completely different. I've also released a separate guide on that. Also again up here in the info card above me or down in the video description, why the merchants in Star Wars Outlaws are so important. Make sure to visit them from time to time. Buy various upgrades here. I will also include a video in the video description at the bottom. We can quickly get an infinite number of credits within a minute. Almost 4,000 credits. This is still valid after the update on February 1st. Does this money glitch still work? I will of course link it for you again. The merchants are really essential, guys. Check them out from time to time. I also made that mistake. They didn't really pay attention to it, so check back every now and then. There are an incredible number of useful items that you can buy to upgrade everything in the game. That has been my last tip as well. I think with these 5 tips, you will have a lot more fun playing. You will find it much easier to get the platinum trophy and push through much less. At least, that's my opinion. I would have loved to know this beforehand. So here is the video. Feel free to write in the comments if you have any tips that have greatly eased your life in Star Wars Outlaws. I would be thrilled if you could help the community here. Thank you for watching. I hope you'll be back for the next games and guides here on my channel. With that said, take care, see you soon, and goodbye.